I love him. But God said no. Broken heart. Then this happened. Inspired by true story, ****. The wedding dress was already hanging in the window, the invitations had been mailed, and every dream seemed only days away from becoming reality when a single heartbreaking phone call shattered everything. In one painful afternoon, the woman who believed she had finally found forever was forced to choose between the love of her life and the quiet conviction that some prayers are answered with tears instead of joy. She thought losing him would destroy her forever, but she had no idea that the greatest miracle of her life was waiting on the other side of the goodbye. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to our channel so our community can continue sharing emotional stories that inspire hearts around the world. Madeline Harper had always believed that love should bring peace instead of confusion. She was the kind of woman who smiled through disappointment, encouraged strangers who were struggling, and quietly trusted that even painful seasons had purpose. When she met Julian Mercer at a neighborhood volunteer event, everything felt effortless. He was thoughtful without trying to impress anyone, generous without expecting recognition, and carried the kind of calm that made difficult days feel lighter. Friends admired how naturally they fit together. Their families celebrated the relationship. Every plan pointed toward a joyful future. Months passed with laughter, shared dreams, and countless afternoons spent serving others in their community. Together they talked about building a home filled with compassion, raising children who valued character over success, and growing old without ever losing the friendship that made their love so strong. Everything appeared perfect from the outside. Yet deep inside Madeline, a strange uneasiness slowly began to grow. There was nothing wrong with Julian's character. He was honest, faithful, hardworking, and deeply caring. Still, every time she imagined standing beside him for the rest of her life, an unexplained heaviness settled over her heart. She tried to ignore it, believing fear was simply part of making a lifelong commitment. The closer their wedding day approached, the stronger the feeling became. Instead of excitement, she found herself quietly praying for clarity during peaceful walks through the park in the bright afternoon sunlight. She begged for confidence. She asked for peace. Instead, the silence remained. Those around her assumed wedding stress was making her emotional. Family members encouraged her to relax. Friends reminded her that nobody felt completely certain before marriage. Even Julian lovingly reassured her that every couple experienced moments of doubt. She desperately wanted to believe them. One afternoon, while helping organize donations at a local community center, Madeline met an elderly woman named Eleanor. They spent hours sorting clothing and books under warm sunshine pouring through the windows. Eleanor noticed the sadness hidden behind Madeline's smile and gently shared something that stayed with her forever. She explained that sometimes the hardest answer from God was not, wait, but, no. She admitted that decades earlier she had walked away from someone she deeply loved because every prayer left her without peace. Years later she discovered circumstances she never could have imagined, realizing that what felt like rejection had actually been protection. Madeline carried those words home, but instead of bringing comfort, they intensified the battle inside her heart. After another sleepless afternoon filled with prayer and reflection, she made the most painful decision of her life. She ended the engagement. The announcement shocked everyone. Some relatives called her selfish. Friends questioned her judgment. Neighbors whispered that she had ruined the happiest relationship anyone had ever seen. Julian himself was devastated. Although heartbroken, he never insulted her or demanded explanations she couldn't provide. He simply accepted that whatever she was experiencing was real to her, even if it made no sense to anyone else. Madeline watched the man she loved walk away with tears filling both of their eyes. For weeks afterward she questioned everything. Had she confused fear with wisdom? Had she thrown away genuine love because of uncertainty? Every afternoon became a struggle between regret and faith. Life slowly moved forward. She immersed herself in volunteer work, cared for her aging grandmother, accepted a position mentoring teenagers, and tried to rebuild a future she no longer recognized. Nearly 2 years later, during a charity fundraiser held in a public botanical garden, Madeline unexpectedly saw Julian again. He looked healthy, peaceful, and genuinely happy. Instead of bitterness, he greeted her with kindness. During their brief conversation she learned something remarkable. Several months after their engagement ended, Julian had accepted an unexpected job opportunity in another city. There he met people who inspired him to pursue humanitarian engineering projects that brought clean water to struggling communities. His career had become far more meaningful than anything he had imagined before. Madeline sincerely celebrated his happiness, even though seeing him reopened old wounds. As they parted ways, she realized she still loved him. Yet something inside her also understood that love alone was not always enough. Weeks later another unexpected event changed everything again. While organizing educational supplies for disadvantaged schools, Madeline met Graham Ellison, a quiet architect recovering from devastating personal loss. Unlike Julian, Graham was reserved and cautious. He rarely smiled, spoke carefully, and seemed emotionally distant. At first they were simply co-workers volunteering on community projects. Gradually Madeline noticed the extraordinary compassion hidden beneath his quiet personality. Graham remembered everyone's birthdays, anonymously paid school fees for struggling children, repaired broken community buildings during his free afternoons, and never accepted praise for anything he did. His kindness was almost invisible because he never spoke about it. Their friendship grew slowly. Unlike her previous relationship, nothing happened quickly. There were no dramatic declarations. No whirlwind romance. Just countless afternoons filled with honest conversations, shared service, mutual respect, and growing trust. For the first time in years, Madeline experienced something she had been desperately seeking. Peace. Not excitement. Not butterflies. Peace. She realized that genuine peace did not erase life's challenges. Instead, it remained steady even during uncertainty. As their relationship deepened, Graham shared the painful truth about his past. Years earlier he had blamed himself for a tragic accident involving members of his family. Although everyone else had forgiven him, he never forgave himself. He had spent years believing happiness was something he no longer deserved. Madeline understood that healing rarely happened all at once. She patiently encouraged him to see himself through the same compassion he offered everyone else. In helping Graham rediscover hope, she unknowingly completed her own healing as well. Months later, while attending another community celebration during a bright autumn afternoon, Madeline once again crossed paths with Julian. This time he introduced her to the woman he had married. The joy on his face was genuine. The gratitude in hers was unmistakable. There was no resentment. Only quiet appreciation. During that meeting Julian admitted something that surprised Madeline. Looking back, he believed the broken engagement had saved both of them from building a future that would never have fulfilled either heart completely. At the time it had felt cruel, but now he could clearly see how every painful decision had redirected both of their lives toward purposes they never imagined. Madeline left that conversation with tears streaming down her face, not because she wished things had been different, but because she finally understood. Sometimes losing someone you truly love is not punishment. Sometimes it is preparation. Sometimes the closed door protects two people equally. Sometimes unanswered prayers become the foundation of answered ones. The following spring, surrounded by blooming flowers and warm daylight, Graham asked Madeline to marry him. There were no extravagant surprises. No expensive fireworks. Only sincerity, hope, and overwhelming peace. She said yes with complete confidence. Their marriage was not perfect. They still faced financial challenges, family illnesses, disappointments, and difficult seasons. But every obstacle strengthened rather than weakened their partnership because it had been built on trust instead of fear. Years later they created a charitable foundation supporting young people who felt abandoned after painful life changes. Every person they helped reminded Madeline of the broken woman she once was, the woman who believed saying goodbye to someone she loved meant her story had ended. Instead, it had only begun. She often reflected on the engagement ring she never wore and the wedding that never happened. Those memories no longer brought bitterness. They became reminders that life could be beautifully rewritten when people trusted beyond what they could understand. She realized that faith was not about receiving everything she wanted. Faith was believing that even painful detours could lead somewhere more meaningful than the road she originally planned to travel. The greatest miracle was never finding another relationship. The greatest miracle was becoming someone capable of recognizing peace when it finally arrived. Before we finish this story, we would love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment sharing one lesson you learned from this journey, or tell us whether you have ever experienced a painful goodbye that eventually became an unexpected blessing in your life. Madeline's story reminds us that love is precious, but wisdom is priceless. Hearts can break without lives being ruined. Dreams can fall apart without hope disappearing. Sometimes the answer we fear the most becomes the doorway to the future we never dared imagine. Forgiveness heals wounds that resentment never could, patience reveals blessings hidden by disappointment, and faith often grows strongest in the moments when nothing makes sense. What once looked like rejection eventually became protection, purpose, healing, and lasting joy. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. May this story remind you that even when life says goodbye to one dream, hope still has the power to write a more beautiful ending than you ever imagined.